Hello and welcome everybody, I am Brandon, and we got a buttload of PlayStation Plus news to talk about today. Last week the big news on the street was that Project Spartacus ended up being revealed as the new PlayStation Plus rebranding. They're actually going to be making PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus all one big service. Obviously with some of the improvements comes some big caveats. We're going to go through all that and more on another episode of Game Corner. Thanks for joining me, everybody. If you like what I do, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more, and I'll stop wasting your time. So like I said, Project Spartacus was announced last week to be this new PlayStation Plus tiered system that they're actually replacing PlayStation Now and the current PlayStation Plus with. We've actually talked about this quite a few times on Game Corner, and thanks to Jeff Grubb over at GamesBeat, we've actually been getting insider information about this for quite some time now. And thankfully it all turned out to be right. I do love it when that happens. Obviously we do a lot of speculation on this channel, so not everything we talk about is going to end up becoming true, and this happens to be something that did. So for the uninitiated, PlayStation Plus is the current membership program that they have on the PlayStation that you can sign up for to play multiplayer games, get online save functionality, etc. The platform has had issues in the past, and since then it just hasn't really been able to get rid of that nasty name. Like I said, if you want any more information on that, I've actually talked about it multiple times on the channel, so go ahead and click up here. So yeah, they're going to be getting rid of the current PlayStation Now service, kind of combining it all into the one PlayStation Plus service, and they're actually doing a multiple tiered system that we'll go over here in just a sec. Really quick though, I love this little dig in the announcement saying that PlayStation Now is the first console streaming service. Just a little, punch it towards Microsoft there. Moving on, we actually have 3 membership tiers to take a look at here: PlayStation Plus Essential, PlayStation Plus Extra, and PlayStation Plus Premium. I do think it was a little bit of a missed opportunity to not call these Silver, Gold, and Platinum though, right? Anyway, this is where it gets a little bit hairy, so kind of just stick with me here. Our first tier is PlayStation Plus Essential. This is going to be our base level subscription. This is the exact same thing you're paying for right now with PlayStation Plus. Obviously, you get those 2 free games a month. Of course, the PlayStation Plus discounts, cloud storage for saved games, online multiplayer access, and it just comes in at that same $9.99 a month, $24.99 for 3 months, and $59.99 for a year. Next up, we got the PlayStation Plus Extra, which is going to give you all the benefits from the Essential tier and also add a catalog of up to 400 games. These are mostly going to be PS4 and PS5 titles, but it will include first and third party titles. They actually have barely talked about what games are actually going to be on the service when it launches, but they have mentioned a couple. Games like Death Stranding, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Mortal Kombat 11, and Returnal are going to be some of the first on the list, but do keep in mind that it's going to be refreshed regularly, and there's going to be a pretty substantial amount of games on this list. Obviously, with over 400 games in just the extra portion of the subscription service, you can see that there's quite a few more games on the service than there's going to be on the Xbox Game Pass. That being said, how many of these games are actually going to be worth playing is a whole other question. That being said, our middle extra tier here is going to come in at $14.99 a month, $39.99 every 3 months, or $99.99 for a year. And last but not least, we got the PlayStation Premium tier, which is going to be our last try tier here. Obviously, you're going to get all the benefits from the Essential and the Extra tier, and they're going to add another 340 games onto that list of already 400 games, kind of bringing us to about 700-800 games. And this is where we get into the good stuff. You're obviously going to have all the classic games from PS1, PS2, and PSP, and then you're also going to be able to stream PS3 games over cloud streaming services. We got a couple things to unpack here really quick before I move on though. Once again, 340 games is a lot of games, and especially coming from kind of more of a retro backlog like that, that is actually the exciting part to me. This is kind of what people like me have been waiting for to see over on the PlayStation, and kind of putting this huge retro catalog together and kind of making it a little bit more mainstream under the PlayStation Plus banner, I think is going to go a really long way to getting subscriptions. Once again though, what games are we getting here? PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP, PS4, and PS5 are a lot of consoles there. And while Jim Ryan does say that we're going to be getting all the hits, all the big ones, I am very curious to know what we are going to end up getting, and comparing that to what you can already get over on the PlayStation Now service now. My next issue with this is the PS3 Game Streaming. This is really no different than what we were already getting with PlayStation Now, and I was really hoping they'd go the extra mile to make native emulation a thing on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4. Unfortunately, it looks like they did not want to spend the time or the energy to do that, so they're just going the easy route and still using their weird PlayStation 3 streaming service. It's like this kind of weird half-baked state where it's really cool that we're allowed to download and play native PS1, PS2, and PSP games, but they're kind of leaving PS3 out in the cold. Especially because PS3 actually actually has most of these games that are kind of stuck on the console compared to these other consoles that have gotten a lot of more ports and stuff like that. Lucky for us, this isn't the end of the story, because Mr. Jeff Grubb came through again saying that he has heard rumors around the mill that they are actually working on some sort of native way to emulate PS3 games on the PS5, but it's probably going to take a while. As always, take this with a huge grain of salt. This is completely unconfirmed information, and it just admittedly came from Jeff Grubb on his podcast. And obviously, while he does have a knack for being right, and I would love to see them actually working on something like this, we haven't really seen them do anything with this in the past, and they don't really seem interested in it right now, so we're kind of going to have to wait and see. Anyway, back to the PlayStation Plus premium features. They also allow for cloud streaming across the PlayStation Plus catalog over on PS4, PS5, and PC, as well as offering time-limited game demos so you can kind of try games before you buy them, which is a new thing that we haven't really seen before. And the prices are coming in at $17.99 a month, $49.99 every 3 months, and $119.99 a year. Ooh. I do think that price is a little steep, especially for what they're offering here. They really haven't brought in anything that's like making my eyes pop out of my head or anything like that. While it is going to be really cool to play these retro games on my PS5, I was pretty bummed to see that PS3 games aren't going to be able to be emulated natively over on the console. I do want to note that this pricing comes a little bit with a caveat, seeing as how you can pay for a year of PlayStation Plus. It's actually cheaper in the long run to do that than it is to pay for 3 months of Game Pass at a time, which ends up coming out to close to $200. While up front, it does seem like a pretty hefty cost, and I would even argue that $18 a month is a little bit overpriced. $120 per year does end up actually coming out to be quite a bit cheaper than Game Pass. Now, one last caveat we have to go through here is that Jim Ryan has announced that they will not be doing day one first-party titles like Xbox Game Pass does, which admittedly is a pretty big seller for Xbox Game Pass. Being able to get in at like $15 a month for Xbox Game Pass and play the new Outer Worlds game that just came out has been a really sweet deal for me so far, and I gotta say this is a pretty big hit. In an interview, Jim Ryan said that the level of investment that we would need to make in our studios would not be possible, and we think the knock-on effect on the quality of the games that we would make would not be something that gamers want. The way our publishing model works right now, it doesn't make any sense. But things can change very quickly in this industry, as we all know. I actually have been expecting this, so I'm really not super surprised. PlayStation makes a lot more money than Xbox does off their first-party titles, and it's a lot bigger portion of their business. So I do think it doesn't make a lot of sense for them to be doing this right up front, especially when they know people are going to pay $70 for these games anyway. It doesn't make a lot of sense for them to do that. That being said, it is a pretty big bummer, unfortunately, that this isn't going to be a thing, but it does sound like Jim Ryan is somewhat open to the idea in the future. Who knows, maybe at some point they're just going to be making hand over fist with these games and they aren't going to mind too much throwing it up there on day one. Or maybe we'll even see like select titles come out on day one or something like that. Anyway, it does look like that the new PlayStation Plus is going to launch somewhere in that June timeframe, so we aren't super far out from this now. I'm definitely really curious to kind of see what this is going to look like on launch, and definitely curious to hear more about what games we're going to be playing and what's going to be on this service. I think it's kind of hard to judge this service too much because we really don't know what content is included inside of it. It looks like it's going to launch in Asian markets first, and then America, Europe, etc. And really, that's just right around the corner now. So I'm really curious to know what you guys think about this. Are you guys going to be subscribing to the new PlayStation Plus system? Do you think it's just not a good deal or investment? And what do you think they're going to end up putting on the platform? Like I said, I think it's kind of hard to make too big of a comparison to things like Xbox Game Pass and Nintendo Switch Online, just because we don't have full information around what this is yet. But as of right now, I got to admit, I'm pretty lackluster on the whole thing. I definitely am going to look into it when it comes out, just because I'm curious to see what's going to end up being on the platform. And I've been waiting to play retro games on my PS5 for quite some time now. But it definitely kind of comes off as just pretty mid, and kind of like they just combined all these services together, repackaged it, and handed it to you. Lazy even, maybe? Anyway, that's about all the PlayStation Plus news I got for you guys today. We went over every little detail about the service, everything from pricing to kind of the caveats of the whole system, and some of the really cool features that are going to be added in the service, like all the retro games that we're going to be seeing. I'm Brandon. This was Game Corner. Thanks for watching, and have a kick-ass week.